So welcome to the February 5, 2021 meeting of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. This is being held virtually via web conference. This meeting will include a public dial-in option that's available on the Charter Commission's website. I would like to call on Ashley Thomas, our General Counsel, to reference the circumstances behind the virtual meeting and the relevant TCA section. Ashley?
Good morning. Given the current COVID-19 pandemic and concerns for public safety and welfare, as well as the pandemic's impact on the Commission's budget, this Commission meeting is being conducted by electronic means as provided by TCA 8-44-108 and Governor Lee's Executive Order 71. Additionally, Executive Order 71 requires those speaking to identify themselves in a manner capable of permitting the speaking. Meeting is being recorded and will be available after its conclusion via link on the Commission's website for the public to participate.
Thank you. And I already violated the first order of business by not introducing myself, Tom Griscom. I'm the chair of the commission. So now I've caught that up and I'm speaking again. So thank you, Ashley. As a reminder, all votes of the commission are conducted via taking a roll call. Please identify yourself prior to speaking, which I have now done, making a motion or voting. Before we begin today, I want to take a moment to introduce our newest addition to the Charter Commission staff, Melanie Harrell. Melanie is our Director of Finance and Operations. She was very active yesterday in our committee meetings. She has a wide range of experience working in the charter school sphere. I think her expertise is going to be very valuable to us as we move forward. Melanie, welcome. And do you have any things you would like to share with us as we start?
Hi, this is Melanie Harrell. Thank you so much, Commissioner Griscom. I'm very excited to be joining the team and to be working with y'all moving forward.
This is Tom Griscom. Great. Thank you. So Chase, may I ask you to take a roll call of the commissioners, please?
This is Chase Engle. Commissioner Hanson? Commissioner Levine?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Patterson? Commissioner Richards?
Present.
Is present. Commissioner Cisnet?
Present.
Is present. Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Tucker?
Here.
Is present. And Chairman Griscom? Is present. Commissioner Patterson and Hanson, I think you all may have your mics muted.
This is Commissioner Patterson, present.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
I'm having some technical difficulties. I don't know if you guys can hear me okay.
I can hear you, sir. Chairman Griscom, you have quorum.
Thank you. This is Tom Griscom. Today's agenda includes reports from our 3 standing committees. We'll be voting on several policies on first and final reading from the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee. We'll also receive an update on the ASD exit plan, a special session legislative update, and an open records and open meetings refresher from our General Counsel. We'll conclude our meeting with updates from our Executive Director. All of you were sent the agenda in advance of the meeting. Does anyone have any comments to make regarding the agenda before we vote to approve? Seeing no comments, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
This is Commissioner Richards. I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Cisnet. I second.
This is Commissioner Patterson.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? If not, Chase, would you please take the roll?
This is Chase Engle. Commissioner Hanson? Commissioner Levine? Commissioner Patterson? Tom, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Commissioner Patterson?
Commissioner Patterson, aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Cisnet?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Griscom?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you. This is Tom Griscom. The minutes of the meeting held on December 16, 2020 have been provided to commission members. Does anyone have any edits to make regarding the prior minutes before we proceed? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the December 16, 2020 meeting?
This is Commissioner Tucker, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Cisnet, I second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Chase, may I ask you to take the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Hanson? Commissioner Levine?
Yes.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Yes.
Votes aye. Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Cisnet?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Griscom? Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the minutes are approved.
Thank you. This is Tom Griscom again. As we discussed at the December meeting, commission committees have been restructured to align with the commission's responsibilities as we have moved into 2021. The restructured committees held their first meetings yesterday, and I'd like to formally codify the new responsibilities of these committees with the approval of the Charter Commission roles and responsibilities. I will go over some of this, and it clearly will be part of our spread upon our minutes from this meeting. The Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee will be staffed by the General Counsel and Executive Director. The scope of responsibilities will be regularly review all Commission rules, policy, LEA policies, and recommend changes to the full Commission, conduct the annual board evaluation of Commission members, annually evaluate the committee structure and descriptions, and handle nominations of chair and vice chair. The Business Operations Committee will be staffed by the Director of Finance and Operations and the Executive Director. The scope of this committee will be to provide oversight of financial and operational functions of the Commission, including the approval of budgets and recommendation of adoption to the full Commission, regular financial updates from staff, including the approval of contracts over $25,000, hiring and staffing updates, procurement, office space and equipment oversight, and setting of Commission regular meetings. And the new committee, the School Performance and Accountability Committee, will be primarily staffed by the Executive Director until an authorizer-focused staff is hired. The scope of responsibilities will be to annually review the performance of charter schools authorized by the Commission against the performance framework, regularly review authorizing functions to ensure transparency and reduction of administrative burdens, regularly review charter agreements, including any proposed amendments, manage any corrective action necessary of the authorized charter schools, and receive regular updates on the enrollment and operations of authorized charter schools. Is there a motion to approve the committee roles and responsibilities?
This is Levine, so moved.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a second?
This is Richards, second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the new committee setup? Seeing none, Chase, may I ask you to take a roll, please?
Yes, sir. This is Chase Engel. Commissioner Hanson?
Votes aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Levine?
Yes.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Yes.
Votes aye. Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Sistinet?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Griscom?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you. Let me thank the commission members for your support. I think this new setup aligns us with the functions and responsibilities we have going forward, and is an appropriate step as we now assume a lot more of the roles for the charter schools in the state. So thank you for your support with this change. This is Tom Griscom. The next item on our agenda is a report from the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee. Commissioner Patterson, thank you for continuing to lead this committee. And I'd like to recognize you to provide the committee's first item, which is the annual evaluation process of our executive director.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Terrence Patterson. The first item on the committee's report is for us to share out the next steps regarding the annual evaluation of our executive director, Tess Stovall. And the committee has identified Commissioner Levine to work with Tess to build out a self-evaluation form that Tess will use for her annual reviews, as well as develop the process that we'll use to gather feedback from all commissioners in these evaluations. A couple of notes, given the requirements per state regulations, there are interim evaluations that are required, Mr. Chair, and the committee would like to recommend that you as board chair or chair of the commission conduct those 2 interim evaluations. And then the committee will make sure that we handle the annual evaluation process. And the committee will plan to share the developed plan with the full commission at our April 2021 meeting. Mr. Chair, that's all I have with respect to the annual evaluation update.
This is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Terrence. And we'll look forward to additional information on this topic in April. And I'm assuming, based on the chair's role in this, that the committee's feeling was that whoever is serving as chair of the Charter Commission would continue that role. Is that your all's expectation?
Yeah, this is Terrence Patterson. Yes, that's correct. And the notion was, given you will work most closely with our executive director, we feel like having you conduct the interim evaluation on April, and I believe it's April and September of every year.
June.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. April and June. Is it June?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, April and June. I apologize. April and June of every year. And then we would conduct the annual evaluation in September of every year.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that, so that whoever does follow me as chair knows that this is one of the responsibilities that will continue in that role. So thank you. Thank you for that, those comments. Next, this is Tom Griscom again. Our next item is the several policies requiring commission action. Terrence, may I ask you to take us through those policies, please?
Yes, Chairman, this is Terrence Patterson. I'd like to ask our General Counsel, Ashley, to walk us through the first policy that is up for the commission for consideration today. Ashley.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. This is Ashley. Zero detention make responsibilities. Between the first and final readings, there were no additional edits made other than including the commission's address and Davy Crockett Tower on the disclosure each member will have each year. This policy is being into the full commission for a final vote.
This is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Ashley. We're now ready for a vote on policy 1.100 concerning commission members. Is there a motion to approve the changes to policy 1.100 on final reading?
This is Commissioner Sistinet, so moved.
Do we have a second?
This is Wendy Tucker, second.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Chase, may I ask you to call the roll?
Chase Engel. Commissioner Hanson?
Votes aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Levine.
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson.
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Richards.
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Sisnet.
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Tucker.
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Griscom.
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved.
Thank you. This is Tom Griscom. Terrence, I'd like to recognize you again to introduce the next items that are on the Rules and Policy Committee report, please.
Thank you. This is Terrence Patterson. At the Rules and Policy Committee yesterday, the committee also considered the adoption of LEA policies for the commission that will govern the commission's work as an LEA and school district of its authorized charter schools. This was a very lengthy set of policies, fellow members, and I do want to commend the committee members as well as the staff for being very thorough and detailed. And I would like to just remind the commission that our North Star continues to be best in class, and we've worked really closely with national organizations as well as getting feedback from work that the state board has done to ensure that these policies are superb and they are in the best interest of students. So I will turn it over to Ashley so that she can provide an overview of the LEA policies that are up for final reading for the commission.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Again, this is Ashley Thomas. And during yesterday's Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee, consider adoption of several policies for approved by the Commission on during the December 2020. As Commissioner Patterson stated, these policies govern the Commission's work as an LEA. The full discussion of the committee's consideration is available for public view of the February 21 meeting. Between the final readings of these policies, I removed all references to the State Board of Education to reflect the Commission's authority. I also included language to Policy 1801 in particular to comply with state and federal law. With the committee, my advice is for an affirmative vote by the full Commission.
This is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Ashley. We're now ready for a vote on the LEA policies under 1000 board operations, 4000 instructional support, and 5000 personnel for final reading. Since we have LEA policies on first reading and final reading today, I'll list out the ones we're considering for adoption on final reading. 1100, adoption of policies. 1106, code of ethics and conflict of interest. 1200, grievances and complaints. 1407, public records. 1408, records retention. 1800, school calendar. 1801, special education. 1802, ADA and Section 504. 1803, smoke-free environment. 1808, registered sex offenders. 1900, accountability of TPCSC and charter schools. 4206, homebound instruction. 4207, English learners. 4209, alternative credit options. 4210, credit recovery. 5104, employee rights. 5106, application and employment. 5114, personnel records. 5118, 400, employee health. 5610, staff student relations. 5701, substitute teachers. 5911, differentiated pay. Is there a motion to approve these LEA policies on final reading?
This is Wendy Tucker, so moved.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Commissioner Assistant, second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Levine.
Yeah, this is Levine. You know, I didn't ask this during the committee meeting yesterday, and forgive me, this was the first, yesterday was the first meeting I attended as a member of the Rules Committee, so it didn't dawn on me until last night to think about this. But these are all, obviously I'm going to vote for this, and just as I did yesterday in committee with the other policies, but these are all really important policies, and some of them could even be controversial, just because of the nature of the issues that they're regulating. It strikes me that I've heard nothing from anyone. I mean, have these been widely disseminated? Do the regulated entities and public know that we're voting on this right now? It seems weird that I've heard nothing from anyone. No, I usually expect to hear emails supporting or opposing certain policies, and I've heard nothing. So I just was curious if we've made sure that the general public has had a chance to see this before we act on it.
So either Tess or Ashley, I mean, and Terrence as the committee chair, I'm not leaving you out, but would one of you all reply to Commissioner Levine's question?
This is Terrence Patterson, Mr. Chair. I would defer to Tess and the team. Tess, do you want to provide a comment here?
Sure, Tess Stovall. That's a great question, Alan. So we actually have a pending policies page on our website where we put all policies that are up between first and final reading for all stakeholders to be able to see anything that's pending.
Okay.
So actually after this meeting, we will be updating that pending policy page such that anything that you all pass on final reading will go up on that pending policy page. I will also say that the particular stakeholders here that are most directly impacted are the authorized charter schools by the State Board of Education. So we have been flagging for the schools that are transitioning that these policies are being adopted. And we also are flagging for them any substantive changes, which I think the reality is there are very minimal substantive changes. So, but we are letting them know, and particularly that question has come up as Ashley and I are talking to them about contract negotiations. They've been asking, is there anything material that we should be aware of? And so Ashley and I are having those conversations as well. And I think the last thing I would say is that when you look at school district policies across the state, you will see that they are relatively similar because of the requirements in state and federal law. And so there are certainly some points where we can make some differentiation, but I think that the reality is that school district policies are pretty standard across the state.
Okay.
Ashley, if there's anything I missed there, please jump in.
No, I think this is Ashley Thomas. I think you covered it, Tess, that the policies try to reflect as best as we strive to be best in class, that they reflect the state and federal law.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm not complaining about not getting overwhelmed with emails, but it just seemed weird as a public board that I hadn't heard anything. But it sounds like there is a process to make sure the affected entities have visibility before we act, which I appreciate.
This is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Commissioner, for your question. Let me also ask Tess, and we did hold public hearings, and those public hearings would have included the rules that we are looking at today. Am I correct in saying that?
So this is Tess Stovall. So there's no requirement that there is a public hearing when passing policies. So this in the committee meetings and the public notice that we provide via our website is the required notice. But certainly on the rules that we had passed previously, we held public hearings, accepted public comment as a part of the rulemaking process.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that clarification and we'll make sure it showed that. So thank you. This Tom Griscom. Are there other questions before we vote? Seeing none, let me ask you to call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. This is Chase Engle. Commissioner Hanson?
Votes aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Levine?
Yeah.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Sisnet?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Griscom?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the policies have been approved on first reading.
And welcome, Commissioner Smith. It's good to see you this morning.
Thank you. Sorry I was running late. Just worked.
No problem. This time Griscom again. So Terrence, may I call on you once more to go over the last item on the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Terrence Patterson. The last set of policies we have are a review of the remaining 5 under a series of sections, and they are up for first reading for the commission. And I'd like to ask Ashley to review those for us as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. This is Ashley Thomas. The Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee engaged in discussion during yesterday's meeting on the remaining LEA policies for first reading. The policies were in several different series, as evidenced by the agenda that I believe Chase will project to the screen. If not, that is available in SharePoint for the commissioners to review. The policies in the 2000 series govern fiscal management, addressing various financial responsibilities, such as school organizations, inventory and equipment, as well as accounting systems and payroll procedures. The 3000 series of LEA policies govern support services such as school safety, emergency preparedness, and school water testing. The committee also considered on first reading the remaining policies in the 4000 series, which address instructional support, including work-based learning programs and student equal access. The committee considered policy 5107, addressing employee separation. And lastly, the committee considered LEA policies in the 6000 series governing charter schools' relationships with students. These policies include child custody and parental access, student discipline policy, student records and confidentiality, as well as news and media relations. The committee reviewed and suggested changes that will be evaluated and completed before being presented to the commission for a final reading and vote. However, these policies are on first reading, and my recommendation is an approval of these policies.
This is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Ashley. We're now ready for a vote on remaining LEA policies under 2000 fiscal management, 3000 support services, 4000 instructional support, 5000 personnel, and 6000 students that have that are on first reading for the commission. Is there a motion to approve these remaining LEA policies on first reading?
This is Wendy Tucker. Chair Griscom, can we have any discussion first or no? Or do we do the motions first?
We'll do the motion, then we'll.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
I'm backwards. Okay, I so moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Levine, second.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll have now, are there questions or comments? Commissioner Tucker.
Sorry about that. This is Wendy Tucker. I just wanted to comment that as a member of the committee, just wanted to point out we had some great discussion around these yesterday. Did suggest quite a few edits that we thought might be improvements, and the staff is amazing to put all this together. And I just, since that robust discussion isn't occurring in this full meeting, I just wanted to point out that we had a wonderful discussion about these, and that Ashley and Tess, as always, were really receptive. And with that, that's why I moved to approve these.
This is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Commissioner Tucker. Let me make 2 other comments, please. Number one, Terrence, I want to thank you and the committee. And I know as Commissioner Levine said, we've made some movements, so we have some new people here. But thank you all for your work, because I've reviewed the material in advance, and it was quite a long list of policies to go through. So let me again thank you all, your leadership, and the committee members for the work you did. Second is, as we get ready for sunset hearings again, They are coming. It is great to have these in place and be able to reference them that as a commission, we are setting ourselves up and will be more than ready to assume the responsibility. So for that, also, I want to thank you all for your work. Are there other comments? Seeing none, Chase, may I ask you to call the roll, please?
Chase Engel. Commissioner Hanson?
Votes aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Levine?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Sisnet?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Griscom?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the LEA policies are approved.
Thank you. This is Tom Griscom. Our next agenda item is a report of the Business Operations Committee. We will be reviewing the fiscal year 2021 budget to actuals for the Charter Commission, and I'd like to recognize Commissioner Hanson for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Business Operations Committee's recent work has been on the fiscal year 2021 budget to actuals. I'd like to recognize Melanie Harrell to provide this update to the full commission, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. So you should have all received a copy of the FY21 forecast budget to actuals, and we have made some adjustments to the forecasted expenditures. So some of the key changes are that we saw a reduction in the forecasted expenditures for commission meetings. This is due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and moving this meeting to a virtual February meeting. We have also seen the forecast expenditures for computers, equipment, supplies, and materials reduced by approximately 50%. What we found is that staff computers are coded into the state agency professional services line item. So we reduced the forecasted expenditures for computers and equipment and moved instead that amount into state agency professional services. We've also seen that facilities rent forecast was previously reduced as our early facilities expenses are also being coded to the state agency professional services line item. We have not yet been billed for our new office space in Davy Crockett Tower, and so we're not 100% sure how those expenditures will be coded. But depending on how those end up being coded, we may reduce these forecasted expenses for facilities further and account for it instead with an increased forecast for the state agency professional services. So with that, we're finding that a lot of expenditures are being captured in the state agency professional services category. And so that is an area that we have kind of increased forecasts over time. And so while we are seeing some variance across different line items, sort of below the line in the operations category, we're still well within budget. We are projecting to have a surplus, and based in our conversations with the Department of Education and with FNA, variance within sort of these individual line items is acceptable so long as we are remaining within budget overall. We also talked yesterday in the committee meeting about, again, that a lot of this variance is happening because we are seeing that the way that accounting codes things on the state side may not be as expected or always what is kind of the most intuitive. And so we talked yesterday about if moving forward, since we are having to kind of continue to crosswalk expenses and make these adjustments as we're seeing how things are actually hitting the books, if we want to kind of continue presenting information the same way, or if we want to consider more strictly adhering to state coding and its nuances. I think where the committee landed was that for this year, we're not going to make any changes to how we're presenting things. We'll continue to kind of show you these crosswalks, but for moving forward for next year and ongoing presentations after the end of this fiscal year, we will probably be changing some of the formatting to make it more closely mirror how the state accounting codes things individually. So with that, I'd love to take any questions that you may have about this forecast, about the budget to actuals, or any feedback that you have for presenting this information in the future.
So this is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Melanie. Let me also, if you don't mind, ask Commissioner Hanson and Commissioner Smith if they have any additional comments that they would like to make from the committee meeting yesterday, because it was very thorough, and I think it was a good walkthrough as to where our budget is and projecting ahead. So let me open it up broader if anybody else has comments they'd like to make.
This is Eddie Smith. I don't have anything other than the fact that if till we get the third commissioner, we just neither Dave or myself can get mad at each other.
Tom Griscom, well, thank you, Commissioner Smith. Appreciate it. There are many of us hoping that we get an announcement on a ninth commissioner. So I join you because, yeah, then we can really separate things out. But thank you for that comment. Any other comments? Yes.
This is Dave Hanson. I had a question for Melanie yesterday just about the surplus and the surplus's role from fiscal year to fiscal year. So if we had a surplus on June 30th, I think they confirmed that it would not roll into July 1st. It would go back to from whence it came. So Terrence and I had big plans for installing a Tennessee Charter Commission water park, but apparently that's not going to happen this year.
Commissioner Hanson, thank you for that, because I did hear that part of the discussion, and we'll try to figure out down the road how to help you and Commissioner Patterson with your hope. Are there other comments? Thank you all very much. So now our next agenda item is the first report from our School Performance Accountability Committee, and I'd like to call on Commissioner Richards to introduce these items. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report from the School Performance and Accountability Committee will go over the State Board of Education's 2019-2020 Authorized Charter School Annual Report, as well as the Commission's 2021-2022 LEA Plan. I'd like to recognize Tess Stovall to provide an overview of the annual report from the State Board of Education.
Thank you, Commissioner Richards. This is Tess Stovall. The PowerPoint that was presented to the committee yesterday is available for the full commission's reference. We had a really great conversation about the State Board's annual report. Unfortunately, a member of the State Board wasn't able to join us because they were actually having a simultaneous meeting where that exact same PowerPoint was being presented to the State Board of Education. So what I did was go over what the school year 1920 annual report for the authorized charter schools that were operating by the State Board in 1920 and what the available data looked like. And obviously we know that the 1920 school year was a truncated school year and that there were no TN Ready results. So we evaluated and we talked about the academic performance data that was available and how the State Board staff had determined evaluation of the academic data. And particularly the State Board staff determined that they would report out that academic data that was available, but not put an evaluative score on that data. Additionally, we discussed the organizational and financial performance frameworks. If you review the annual report, you will notice that there are some missing categories in the financial performance frameworks. That's because the audits are still being reviewed. Those audits that come from charter schools are always a lagging indicator, and we always will get those pretty late into the next school year. And so once those audits are analyzed against the financial performance framework, the State Board will update that annual report, and I will be sure to share that final report with you all as an FYI. We had a lot of great conversations at the committee about how the ongoing pandemic is going to impact the collection and analyzation of data moving forward. As we know, and as Chase will discuss in further detail, the General Assembly has passed the Hold Harmless legislation as it relates to TN Ready results for this school year. We are also recognize that many of our authorized charter schools have been doing a variety of in-person, hybrid, and fully virtual schooling. And so some of these indicators, we are going to have to look at how do we evaluate them, because certainly, although we want to continue to hold a high expectations, we do not want to unfairly penalize schools for having to live through the pandemic that we are all living in as well. One of the things that I did want to note is that Bluff City, our authorized charter school in Memphis, is up for its 5-year interim review next school year. So it will be under the first kind of year of authorization that the commission will have with the Bluff City. It's up for its intensive 5-year review. So we will have an opportunity to really dig deep with the Bluff City team on their data, kind of where they've been over the last 5 years, and their goals for the remainder of their charter term. So we look forward to being able to share out that further information with the commission. In terms of next steps, the state board is conducting their annual site visits of the authorized charter schools over the next month. Commission staff is going to be observing those site visits so that we can be gathering information and current data about those authorized charter schools. And then the state board staff and commission staff are going to be collaborating over the summer to evaluate the authorized charter schools on the performance framework for this school year, so that we are prepared for that transition over the summer. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions or turn to members of the committee for any additional commentary.
Thank you, Tess. I do want the members of the commission to be aware that I've asked the staff to come to the April meeting with materials demonstrating how we will be handling this transition and the assumption of responsibility as the LAA this summer by the commission. There's a lot of things that have to be worked out. Just for example, how the data records will get transferred, what systems will be used for our operation. Can we use the same systems? There are just a whole lot of questions. So I think our April meeting will be largely an in-depth process of reviewing that planned transition and being prepared to assume our responsibilities in July. And with that, I'm going to move to the next item from the committee, which is if Melanie Harrell will provide an overview of the commission's 21-22 LEA plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Richards. And should all have the PowerPoint in full that was presented yesterday. Just to give the full commission some context, the LEA plan is something that all districts in Tennessee are required to create. It's a comprehensive improvement plan. And this process is completed in the Tennessee Department of Education's planning platform, which is called Inform TN. As part of that process, we create a planning team and engage in stakeholder engagement, and that includes school leaders, school staff, teachers, and parents of students that attend our authorized charter schools. So the goals that we ultimately outline in our LEA plan then are used to populate school level plans that each school also submits to the TDOE. So the school goals and benchmarks that our schools also present in alignment with our LEA plan will drive sort of our site visits and ongoing monitoring conversations with our authorized charter schools. We also use this LEA plan as a foundation to inform what's called our consolidated funding application, or the CFA. And this is sort of the big federal funding application that we complete each year with the TDOE, and for things like Title I funds, Title II, Title III, Title IV, and IDA funds. So the LEA planning process is pretty detailed, and it includes typically exploring data, creating a needs assessment and analyzing those needs that bear out from data, and then ultimately preparing in conjunction with our planning team. And then over time, reflecting on that plan, where we are talking to our schools about updates, how they are meeting those goals, and what they're implementing at each site. This year, there have been some adjustments made to the planning process for COVID-19. Plans are being rolled over for all districts in their entirety from last year, which is a change. And the The thought there is that this will allow you to kind of update and include COVID considerations, and also update any local data given the suspension of statewide testing for 2020. So with that, acknowledging that this is a strange year for all of us and a very difficult year for our schools, and wanting to ensure continuity with the transition for our schools from the state board to the commission, we do not anticipate making any significant changes to our LEA plan goals compared to what they were with the state board. And those goals were to decrease achievement gaps, graduate college and career ready students, improve academic achievement in math and reading language arts, and to provide safe and supportive schools staffed by highly effective teachers. So we talked yesterday about how we feel like these goals are still applicable, they are still rigorous, and they are still appropriate for schools, and not sort of changing the foundational element of the LEA plan will also help them to kind of prepare their school plans in a consistent way and not have to hopefully reinvent the wheel while still being able to outline what they're doing for as part of their COVID response as well. So for our next steps, we are working with the planning team to gather their feedback and other stakeholder feedback to really review to make sure these goals are still aligned and that this plan is still relevant. We will continue to engage schools in the discussion around sort of the specific benchmarks, metrics, and school context that we need to incorporate into this plan. And we are also still working closely with our partners at the Department of Education to make sure that we have sort of the mechanics of all of this transition in Form TN, and with getting the correct district number and sort of some of the back end work to make sure that this transition is handled smoothly. And so we are working closely with them on that, with the hopes that the final LEA plan will be submitted to the TDOE by March 1. So got a busy few weeks ahead of us, but we're excited. And with that, I would ask if any of the commissioners have anything to add about the committee meeting, or if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those at this time.
This is Tom Griscom. Melanie, thank you. As I mentioned when we started, you really have come in and hit the ground running with us, which is much appreciated, what you're doing. Commissioner Richards, thank you for chairing of this committee. I think it clearly reflects, as I said earlier, a recognition of a significant part of what we will be and are doing as a charter commission. So thank you. Seeing none, so we are ready to move on to the next item. So we have Dr. Eve Carney. One more time. Eve, it's great to always have you back with us. Eve with the Department of Education. She's going to give us an update on the ASD exit plan. And so I would like to recognize Eve at this point to share her presentation. Eve, thank you.
Hey, Chairman Griscom, this is Chase Engel. We have not got Eve on here yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and do my presentation, if that's all right with you, and then hopefully we'll circle back and get her at the end. Is that all right?
So yes, let me just put in here then, Chase, that you're going to give us an external affairs update and particularly focus on the special session. So thank you.
All right. All right, commissioners, can you all see that?
Yes.
Commissioner Levine, before I roll into this, as far as the public notice on some of the policies that were gone through, especially in the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee, we had the agendas and most of the individual policies available online Wednesday, the 27th. So they were up and available to the public for a little over a week before we started meeting. Just wanted to give you that information.
Thank you. Thanks, Chase.
Yeah. So again, my name is Chase Engel. I'm the Director of External Affairs for the Charter Commission. And as most of you know, there was a special session called by Governor Bill Lee on a few weeks back. And since I have everybody here, I just wanted to give you an update. And so let's get started. The literacy bill, which was Senate Bill 7003 and House Bill 7002, was to ensure that LEAs would use a phonics-based approach for kindergarten through third grade reading instruction. Now, to go along with that, this legislation also establishes reading screeners for students in that age range to help districts identify the children that are going to need remediation, especially when it comes to literacy. The state is going to be working with the Department of Education to provide training and support for educators to teach this phonics-based approach to reading instruction. So, do anyone have any thoughts or comments on the literacy bill before we move on?
Chase, this is Dave Hanson. Okay, now I can see your whole screen. Before I could only see half of it.
Sorry about that. Can everyone see it well now?
Yes.
Okay. So moving on, then the Learning Loss Remediation Student Success Acceleration Act. This legislation during special session probably had the most attention and was amended the most throughout. But it's going to require interventions for struggling students, and these sort of interventions include learning loss mini camps, learning loss bridge camps, and learning loss summer camps, which are all going to begin.
Chase, pardon
Yes,
me.
sir.
Something's happened to your screen again.
It did it again? Better? All right, we'll get it together here. So, sorry about that, everyone. But these programs are supposed to prioritize students who are scoring below proficient in English language arts and mathematics on their TCAP scores. So for the summer learning camps are going to offer a full day of instruction that focus specifically on math and ELA. The after-school mini camps, however, these are going to be available to all students, and they're going to be targeted for students that are in kindergarten through fourth grade. The bridge camps, which will be over the summer as well, are going to be 4-week programs that are going to start in 2021 and be available throughout moving forward for non-proficient students in English language arts and math. Further, this learning loss legislation creates the Tennessee Accelerated Literacy and Learning Course, tutor course, to provide ongoing tutoring for students throughout the year, and that can be after school or various means of that. So I think the biggest point of contention during the special session was that it strengthens the laws around the third grade as far as creating a sort of a gate, so they will no longer advance students that are not prepared or are not proficient in reading at that time. So specifically for charter schools, these camps, they may participate in them. However, they're not required to provide these summer camps for charter schools. With that said, they can work with the local LEAs or community organizations to have their students enrolled in these camps, and if they would like to also provide these camps to them. Anyone have any questions on this learning loss bill before we get moving?
Chase, this is Tom Griscom. I have a question on bullet number 4.
Yes, sir.
So the language is very interesting, ways that they may participate or district can take in charge. So if a district decides that they want charter schools to participate, they can basically tell them they will be part of this. And does that take away any ability for the charter school to have a decision in that process? I mean, the language seems a little vague, so I'm not sure what, if a charter school says we don't want to participate, can a district say, well, yes, you are?
That, Chairman Griscom, I am not sure 100%. The language that was passed really just refers to participating charter schools. Ashley, would you like to chime in on that?
I think I can help with this. This is Commissioner Richards. The language was designed so that the charter schools would have the determination as to whether they set up their own program. They cannot be required to participate in their district program, but if they want to, they would have the option.
Thank you, Commissioner Richards. So another, a big portion that gets a lot of attention over there is with accountability and assessments. So this legislation, Senate Bill 7001, basically it extends the hold harmless provisions that were passed in the summer of 2020 for the 2019-2020 school year into this coming school year, so that students, teachers, and school districts will not face any negative consequences associated with student assessments. Now, however, with that said, they are going to still be administering TCAP tests to, basically provide parents and school districts with some data to see what this retention slide looks like coming out of this school year. I will say that with these assessments for LEAs in schools, there cannot be any negative consequences, but say we have a school that has performed very well in these circumstances, they may use those test results and assessments to, for example, try to move out of priority status for that school. But there will be no negative consequences for their assessments this year. So with teacher pay increases, Governor Lee, General Assembly, they're going to commit $42.8 million to increase the salary component of the BEP, which is about 2%. Now, these funds are going to provide an immediate pay increase for teachers, and that pay increase will be retroactive to January 1st of this year. So while they were on the floor in both the House and the Senate during special session, both chambers made it very clear that the intent of this money getting sent is for pay increases, which they just want these teachers to get some extra money, and the hope is to not hire new positions and things of that nature. And they made that very clear while they were out on the floor debating these bills. So also, just kind of wanted to give the commissioners a little bit of a heads up about what we're going to be doing in 2020 as far as the legislature is concerned. I know that Tom and Tess are very excited to go back to government operations committees. We'll have our sunset hearings up. We're anticipating within the next month and a half to have gone before the House and the Senate Government Operations Committee to have our sunset hearing and hope to get out of there with positive recommendation. Again, we all know we're waiting on this last appointment, and once that's announced, I'll be working, and Tess as well, will be working with the governor's office to get them through the confirmation process that you all had to go through a couple of years back. Also on Monday, a pretty big day on the legislative side, Governor Lee will have his State of the State address. And the State of the State is really the first time that we're able to get a look at the proposed budget from the executive branch and see what our funding is going to look like for the upcoming year. And lastly, we are planning on working with SCORE, the state collaborative, on reforming education, to get with them on their blog and some of their social media sites to put out some information about the Charter Commission, just to let stakeholders, parents, everyone involved know that what we are as an entity, what our mission is, just to get some more outreach out there, because it's since it's still a brand new commission, I think just trying to get people to understand what we're doing and what our job is will be very helpful for us as we move forward. And if there is nothing else, I'll take any questions, comments, or concerns from the commissioners.
This is Tom Griscom. Are there questions? Chase, let me just share with all. Dr. Carney yet?
Yes, sir. She's in here.
Okay, so if we're ready, then I'll go back to where we were on the agenda. And we've got Eve Carney, Dr. Eve Carney from the Department of Education, who clearly has a relationship with us as a charter commission, because she really has helped us as we have worked through and got to this point. So Eve, it's always great to have you back with us, and we look forward to your update on the ASD exit plan. And so I will now turn this over to you.
you hear? Are you all able to hear me okay? Great. Good morning, everyone. We wait for the slides to be pulled up. Are you all sharing the slides or am I? I wasn't sure about that.
Eve, I made you the presenter, but we can do it either way, whatever's easiest for you.
Let me just pull that up then. I'll say I'm excited to be back with you all. Trying to make sure this is the right deck. I have lots of things open on my desktop. Hold on 1 second. Now, let's see if we can get that. Are the slides visible for you now? All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me to provide an update on the ASD school transition plan framework. It's always good to be with you all to give you an update, and appreciate always the opportunity to be before you. We're going to do a few things in the time we have this morning. I'll walk through some slides to cover the things, some foundational information, the engagement that we've had, how the framework has evolved since I was last with you, talk a little bit about the final framework, as well as a few other updates that are relevant to your work, and then we'll spend the time I have after that providing an opportunity for questions and answers. I will definitely preface by saying we are in the midst of the general session. We've finished the extraordinary session that Chase just discussed, and now we are in the general session, and as always, school turnaround and the ASD specifically is always a big topic, and so it's one that we expect will be part of, likely part of the session that is to come. So the updates I have today may look different in a few weeks, but certainly would love to come back and provide some additional information following session should anything change the content I'm sharing with you today. So again, just to kind of ground us in the work, last July, the General Assembly passed Public Chapter 777, addressing the need for a transition plan for schools to exit the Achievement School District. The current bill language states that it must address the return of ASD schools no earlier than the 24-25 school year, and that plan must be presented to the education committees of the House and Senate by January the 1st, 2021. And so, as you might imagine, the work began at that moment with the commissioner developing an advisory group really to inform the development of that plan. And that plan was, that advisory group, we had about 18 to 20 people pretty regularly to talk through. It was a diverse group, and the folks that were on that advisory group are included in the final framework that you all were, that was part of your packet for this meeting. They're listed in there as well. And I will say it was a very informative and thoughtful process that took a great deal of work and really just some good conversation to make sure that we were reflecting issues and concerns. So just to kind of recap the purpose, it really is, as the bill language states, intended to facilitate the exit of a school from really, we were trying to be thoughtful about not just addressing the right now, but making sure that any framework that we put in place makes sense going forward, 5 years from now, et cetera, so that what we are developing is a good practice that is really about ensuring a smooth transition for students. Schools exit the ASD. What we heard from you, what we heard from really every stakeholder group, was that this can't be a one-size-fits-all. We all know that schools are all very unique. Their challenges are unique, their strengths are unique, and that this plan really will serve we are not best positioned in Nashville to make decisions communities across our state. And so that have representation from ASD, from districts, from the home district, with the department serving in the as part of that process, but certainly not the sole decision-making role. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this engagement began last summer, early August, but outside of our advisory group, which met monthly through December, we also were here with you in October. We had meetings and public meetings with charter school operators to provide feedback. We had 3 kind of informational sessions for communities to ask questions, to give feedback. We had a second, we met with funders that have been great supporters of the ASD work to really get their feedback. We gave our current ASD operators an additional opportunity for feedback, and then it was posted for public comment in English and Spanish from December 4th through the 18th. All of that culminating in what was submitted to the education committees on December the 28th, prior to the January 1st deadline that was established in the legislation. And so when we go back over the feedback after the initial draft was developed and shared, here are some of the things that we heard and some of the changes that were made to what you now see in the final draft. We ensured, there were questions and feedback about how are we ensuring that everyone is being held accountable in these collaborative discussions. And so what we did was really try to add assurances to hold all parties accountable. We, in our own analysis as well, went back through the document trying to streamline it in a way that it really is kind of a step-by-step and that it's organized in a way that is progressive of the process. So that was one of the additional changes that we made. Initially, there was an appendix that was the actual plan, and then the main document was the guidance. We actually kind of merged those into a fill as you go so that the guidance sits next to the section in the process. So I think that makes a lot more sense, and it's certainly one that streamlines that process quite a bit. We definitely added more detail. We continued to hear we need more, specificity, and so as best we could, we tried to give that throughout the document, giving very explicit instructions for each of the sections. We also teased out the engagement between families and communities. We heard from our stakeholders that we really needed a separate plan for families, because what we know is that they are on the receiving end of this work. And so making sure that we had a very specific plan for communicating with parents that would look and could look very different than what we would do with other stakeholders and other community partners supporting this work. We also had additional options that we'll talk about in just a moment, making sure that we were trying to address all possible options that are currently in the law that are allowable. And finally, we looked very carefully about how are we measuring success along the way. There was lots of information there about milestones and the appropriate kind of steps to keep this transition plan on track, but also trying to make sure that throughout that process, we are measuring success. And so again, the final plan has an introduction section that really does kind of give a very quick overview of how we got to where we are today, making sure that we don't lose sight of both the lessons learned as well as the challenges that were existing in the years since the ASD came into existence. Section 1 is the framework for the regulations that are specific to this plan. So we know, I mentioned Public Chapter 777. There's also Tennessee Code around the Achievement School District as well as charter schools. We also have our state-approved ESSA plan also has a school improvement section that is relevant to ASD as well. And so all of that is included in that Section 1. Section 2 highlights the current eligible options for transition. And we worked probably a good bit in that section between the initial and the final draft to provide more detail in those options and kind of teased out a couple of those as well. Finally, Section 3 is that step-by-step process for creating an individual school exit plan. So this is the place where upon, as a school goes through this process, this will become kind of the end product of a school transition plan. We also have the assurances and then an opportunity for relevant attachments, because so much of this work is going to happen within these groups in the communities around individual schools. We wanted to be sure that the plan had the ability to encompass additional information that perhaps is relevant but not kind of in the structure that was provided here. So this is kind of the updated structure of the plan that is now out there. I'm happy, I've got just a couple of other updates, and then we can spend the remaining time for questions. If it's okay, I'll just move right on through, and then that way we have time for other questions. Just again, other updates that are relevant not just to ASD, but also to turnaround. The Charter Commission currently remains the appellate body for charter schools. As you all know that, that is currently the role that they would play in this school transition process. I did want you all to know that as we think about the work that's happening in the ASC currently, Interim Superintendent Lisa Settle and I began in December a series of what will be monthly meetings with our individual operators to talk about performance, to talk about the current school performance framework that is in their memorandum of agreement. So that is currently what they are bound by. And so we began those conversations in December to really have the conversations about areas where we need to support them in improving, and they are actually had developed improvement plans to address those issues that Lisa and her team are working with now. Again, this is really just to begin to have the conversation about performance that frankly was long overdue. As I've shared to you and in the working group as well, the school performance framework was intended to be implemented annually, and it had not due to a host of reasons. But we are now trying to reset, to set a foundation to know where kids are now and know where schools are now, certainly in this very challenging time we're in. Another update due to lots of things, including a pandemic, budget uncertainties resulting from the pandemic, as well as lots of legislation with the special session. We made the decision in December to pause the filling of the state turnaround superintendent. It's a search that I, for one, am anxious to resume and will do so late summer, early fall of this year. And finally, we submitted an addendum to our state plan. It's a waiver, essentially, to the U.S. Department of Education to align with the state legislation that was passed in the special session that Chase just walked you through. That was submitted earlier this week, and we will await response from them. But essentially, it addressed the federal requirements aligned to what was in the legislation around accountability. And so with that, the time I have left, I'm happy to take your questions, and I'm going to stop. If it's okay, I'll just open the floor if that's okay with you.
So this is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Dr. Carney. And are there questions for Eve? You must have done such a great job, as always. I see and hear none. So is there any last comments, Eve, that you would like to leave with us as a commission?
Well, just thank you for your continued work. I know that there are things that that in this school ASD exit framework that will have impacts on your work, and as we can begin the process after we finish this legislative session, it would be helpful probably to come back and just really talk about, once we begin the process of developing these plans, to just have, happy to come back and share additional information we may have at a later date. But I'll just continue to work closely with Tess to keep you all informed, certainly if we hear on our federal waiver, because part of that waiver is on the annual meaningful differentiation of schools, which is the priority status that we all are familiar with. But certainly this was a helpful update just to see kind of where we landed, but the work continues to evolve, both with the federal waiver out there and with the current legislative session, to see what, if any, adjustments may be needed.
This is Tom Griscom. Again, thank you. And Tess, yeah, let's take Eve up on her willingness to come back and keep us apprised of where you're going. So thank you for this update from the previous one. And we will, good luck in the legislative session.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the time today.
Thank you. All right, so we're ready to move to the next item, which is a discussion on open records, open meetings, and conflict of interest. So let me call on our general counsel, who is going to sort of walk us through this. You will recall as commissioners that we had an overview of these laws and policies at our organizing session in February 2020. As part of our ongoing professional development as a board, I asked Ashley to provide a refresher to the full commission of our obligations under state law regarding open meetings, open records, and conflict of interest policies for the commission. So Ashley, thank you, and look forward to your presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairman. This is Ashley Thomas, and I want to present the commission, as Chairman said, a refresher pursuant to TCA 49-13-105 on the Tennessee Open Records Act, the Open Meetings Law, and the conflicts of interest. And I'm going to share my screen for you all to view. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, so this first slide, excuse me, this first slide sets forth the definition of open records. In short, most everything involving commission affairs and business is an open record. This includes papers, letters, applications, agreements, and emails. There are exceptions to the Open Records Act, and this is usually to protect personally identifying information or documentation that is not discoverable because of some other attached privilege. And here I've indicated another reminder that unless an indicated exception applies, all commission documents and communication is considered an open record, including your emails. Now I'm going to move on to the Public Meetings Act. And what I want to briefly cover is what a public meeting is and what it's not, the requirements of a public meeting, and the consequences for violating the Public Meetings Act. Tennessee statute has indicated that all public policy and decisions are considered to be public business, and the discussions and deliberations should not be conducted in secret. Statute also holds that all meetings of a governing body are declared public meetings. The statute has defined a governing body as two or more members of a public body, such as the commission, that has decision-making authority. And this particular statute does apply to all regular and specially called meetings. The one exception to the Public Meetings Act is executive sessions. These are very specific sessions that the commission would hold. These would occur with the commission and the general counsel and the commission. So both of these factors have to be present. It will be between myself and the commission has been sued or is under threat of a lawsuit. So we're hoping for no executive sessions being necessary. In these sessions, the commission members may ask questions and seek advice from general counsel regarding the litigation. But I do want to note that during an executive session, the commission may not deliberate about any matter currently on an agenda or that may be potentially before the commission. In short, executive sessions cannot be a place where commission business is deliberated. I do want to highlight that everything is not a public meeting. Any site visits that the commission may conduct is not considered a meeting, as well as any chance meeting between commission members. This includes lunch breaks, recesses between sessions, and adjournments between two-day meetings. These are not meetings. The important note as it relates to chance meetings, any deliberation or discussion that could influence a commission decision, that would then become a public meeting, and because there was no public notice, that meeting would violate the Public Meetings Act. I think here's a good place to highlight that electronic communications are also subject to the Public Meetings Act. Emails from commission members to the chairman should only be utilized when necessary, and they should not have any of your consideration on commission action. Communication with the general counsel, of course, is protected under attorney-client privilege. Where possible, I would encourage you to consult with me prior to taking any action that could affect the commission. There will be times that you'll be approached and people may want to speak with you regarding agenda items, or they want to opine on something that they would like for the commission to do. If you can stop those conversations before they get too involved, I would encourage you to do that. But if you find yourself in a situation with a friend that is persistent and they are determined to get their point across, please make sure that they are aware that you cannot respond in your capacity as a commission member, as the commission only moves as one and they only speak or take action by vote. You may also find yourself at conferences or other events with other commission members, and I'm in no way trying to discourage you all from interacting with one another. I just want you all to be aware that there will be people that will see you all speaking and they'll make assumptions. The goal here is to try to avoid that appearance of impropriety when interacting with one another outside of commission meetings. Finally, each commission member has been assigned a state email address. I would encourage you all to use those emails to communicate with the commission staff. These emails preserve the commission record in the event of any litigation. And it's not improper to use your personal emails. However, I would discourage continued use of that. For example, if the commission receives a public records request or a subpoena for commission documents that would include emails, and you've used your personal email, your inbox at that point, or your mailbox, is subject to being poured through to find out, to determine which emails are relevant to the request or the subpoena. So, like I said, to preserve litigation, I would encourage you to use your state email. I think 2020, of course, has highlighted the importance of electronic meetings for everyone. I think that this commission, probably more so than any other commission in the state, is well versed in the benefits and the procedures surrounding electronic attendance, but I do want to go over it quickly. Currently, under Governor Lee's Executive Order 71, exclusive remote meetings are extended through February 21st, 2021. Beyond that executive order, TCA 8-44-102 does permit remote meetings upon declaration and filing of a statement of necessity if there's not an in-person quorum possible. And Tennessee statute has indicated that a quorum for this commission is a majority of the commission members. The Public Meetings Act also provides that members of the public have the right to attend all meetings, but there is no requirement that the commission permit participation by those members of the public attending the meeting. The commission has adopted policy 1.200 to govern public participation in our commission meetings. Part of our responsibility is to make sure that the public has the opportunity to attend all of our meetings, and that is accomplished through public notice. Tennessee law has determined that a three-pronged test can be used to determine if we have submitted adequate public notice. The first prong is that the contents of the notice must reasonably describe the purpose of the meeting or the action to be taken. Second, the notice is posted sufficiently in advance of the meeting, giving citizens the opportunity to become aware and attend the meeting. And finally, the notice must be posted in a location where a member of the community would become aware of the meeting. Your commission staff has satisfied this test by posting the agenda and the notice of the meeting, to the commission website at least 1 week prior to a scheduled commission meeting. So if there's a violation of the Public Meetings Act by the commission, legally, any decision that the commission made at that meeting would be nullified. If the meeting is not properly noticed, any decision that the commission has made would not be upheld. A new meeting with proper notice would be required, and the commission would have to deliberate and vote, quote, in the sunshine. And so that's why it's important to make sure we have that public notice. And just from a practical perspective, a nullified decision would cost the commission the time and the money that we spent deliberating without proper notice. And so we provide better service to the citizens of Tennessee if we can avoid those costs, and it also protects the integrity of the commission. The final topic I want to review with the commission is conflicts of interest. Conflicts occur when the personal interests of a member, financial or otherwise, actually or potentially diverge with your professional obligations. Direct conflicts of interest, such as serving on a governing board of a charter school under the commission's authority, those conflicts would be prohibited to your service as a commission member. Indirect conflicts of interest should be publicly acknowledged. For example, if you have a child that attends a charter school that's under the commission's authority, this should be disclosed. And while you cannot be required to recuse yourself from a vote where there's a potential conflict of interest, I want the commission to be aware of questions that may arise as a result of any potential conflicts with commission business. A good threshold question to ask yourself: are you able to remain impartial and decide on the matter before the commission without any outside influence or obligation to other parties or other organizations, excuse me? If the answer is no, I would ask that you please recuse yourself from the vote or disclose that information to myself or to Tess. After today's meeting and each subsequent year, you'll be asked as commission members to complete a disclosure form where you will report any direct or indirect conflicts of interest. Mary will reach out to you all via email at the conclusion of today's meeting with the Word version of the 2-page disclosure form I referenced. And I would ask that you complete that and return those by March 15th so that we can have them on file for each commission member. They can be returned to myself or to Mary, and we will make sure that they are housed in the proper location. I do want to point out that this is a fluid document, and if you happen to accept a new position that would pose a conflict that you feel like you should disclose, or if you, excuse me, or if you leave a position or a membership that removes a conflict, if you would report that to myself or Tess, we can keep that updated prior to the next year's disclosure form. Any additional questions that you have regarding those conflicts, of course, can be directed to myself or to Tess for discussion. So I just wanted to recap that information for you all. I know this is our first meeting of the year, and I wanted to highlight to the commission the importance of conducting all business in the open and attempting to avoid any conflicts that we can. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but you also have my contact info if you want to discuss anything after today's meeting.
This is Tom Griscom. Ashley, thank you for the update and sharing this information with us. Do commissioners have questions for Ashley on the items discussed or anything else that maybe was not included in the presentation?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Levine, yes.
Well, at the moment, the most colorful public record emails from me would be the ones immediately prior to each meeting where I'm colorfully inquiring how to make the video work. But so fortunately, there's nothing else there. Can you guys, somebody reteach me how to use the state email system though? I know I have an account. I just don't know how it works. And maybe I've even forgotten my password, but if y'all could reteach it, then I'll commit to using it. Sorry.
Absolutely, we can arrange that, Commissioner Levine.
Other questions? As a reminder, Ashley's note to us that Mary's going to be sending out our annual disclosure forms. So please be looking for them. And I'm assuming there'll be a FedEx or something like that, Ashley, where we send them back to you all. Is that what you all would expect us to do?
You can do that also if you want to attach an electronic signature and email them back to myself or Mary. That will be fine as well.
Good, thank you. I don't see any other questions. You've done a great job. Thank you for the refresher course for us. This is very important. We appreciate it. Thank you. So next on our agenda is an update from our Executive Director, Tess Stovall. So Tess, let me call on you and just remind you, I have a chance every week to talk with Tess and go through things, and out of that she sends all commissioners an update. So I just wanted to commend Tess, because I think that type of transparency and communication with all of us is important. So we remain very much involved in what's going on, particularly between committee meetings and our regular quarterly board meetings. So Tess, with that, let me call on you, please.
Thank you so much, Tess Stovall. I have provided a written report to you all that's available, but I wanted to go ahead and give you the oral highlights, as well as to add in a couple things that have come up in the last week that were not on the written report. So first things first, as Chairman Griscom announced at the beginning, we are excited that Melanie has come on board as we start building out our LEA team. Melanie is, amongst all the other priorities that she has on her plate, is going to be working to hire 2 additional coordinators who are going to support the LEA functions of the commission team. With the hire of those 2 additional coordinators, that should fulfill our hiring goals for FY21. As we have previously discussed, we do have a request to increase the equity that's available for the commission in order to hire out the remaining positions in FY22. We will certainly share additional information as we move through the budget season on how we're thinking about staffing for FY22. In terms of office space, we have it. We're excited. We've added on 2 additional cubicles to house Chase and Melanie. As I shared with the Business Operations Committee yesterday, we have a printer and copier, which I know makes the staff feel very excited. So we are continuing to build that out. We will add on additional office space when we hire those 2 additional coordinators based on kind of where we are in staffing. Commission website, we continue to build out our commission website. We have created pages that are going to be landing pages for each of our authorized charter schools. So in the document, I provided you all direct links so you can see what the authorized charter schools page will start to look like. So they will contain the approved charter agreements of each authorized charter school, any approved waivers. Again, this is about transparency and ensuring that all stakeholders can access information about the work of the commission as well as our authorized charter schools. I know that the website has been a labor of love to Chase, so just want to shout out him and all of his work, as well as we've created and started working with social media accounts. So we have a Twitter account, we have a Facebook account, which will just really allow us to connect with more individuals across the state and across the nation about the commission's work. We've also started the pre-opening process with the 2 schools that are slated to open in the 21-22 school year. So that looks like monthly pre-opening meetings with their team, working through the pre-opening checklist, which is a part of the charter agreement, and really ensuring that the commission staff and their staff are collaborating when it comes to ensuring a solid pre-opening process. I want you all to be aware that there may be opportunities in the future for commission member participation in groundbreaking ceremonies, ribbon cuttings as schools start to look and thinking about opening, or if new facilities are built, having that opportunity for commissioners to participate in those events. We will let you all know when those are, and we would love to have your participation if you're interested. Secondly, when it comes to our authorized charter schools, Ashley and I have been working with all existing charter schools under the state board to work through the transition of charter agreements. So that has included having individual meetings with each operator to discuss the current agreement, to discuss any potential changes to agreements. And the commission should expect to see all transitioning charter agreements on the April agenda. At this point, there have been no major, areas of concern or consternation. It's just more of a connection and kind of making sure that we are all on the same page about how we're going to be transitioning those agreements. As I mentioned as a part of my presentation on the State Board's annual report, the State Board of Education has upcoming site visits for their authorized charter schools. So commission staff are going to be participating in those site visits so that we can really be up to speed on what is happening in authorized charter schools as we assume their responsibility. When it comes to the General Assembly, I know that Chase has shared lots of things going on in the next couple of months as we hope to get the appointment of the 9th commission member as soon as possible. Chairman Griscom and I remain in regular contact with the governor's team about this work. We know we have sunset hearings coming up. And we know that we'll be staying in close contact when it comes to the budget proposal and in providing any information that the General Assembly needs as they're considering the budget. And when we're looking at renewals, appeals, and applications, charter applications, I wanted to give you all a verbal update that as the exciting news for charter schools across the state is that all renewal applications were approved that were considered by Shelby County and Metro Nashville. That's great news for those schools and those students, which means that the commission will not expect us to receive any renewal appeals in this cycle. Charter applications across the state were due on February the 1st, so earlier this week, and I wanted to provide you all a quick update that there were 7 charter applications submitted across the state. From a trend line perspective, that's actually lower than we've seen in previous years. I will be curious to see when nationwide statistics are released, if other states are seeing similar trend lines. Shelby County actually received no charter applications this year, which I was commenting to the team is the first time I've seen this in my tenure. So we'll receive no potential appeals out of Shelby County. Hamilton County and Davidson County both received 2 charter applications, and then we have 3 school districts that are not currently an authorizer that received an application. That's Fayette County, Rutherford County, and Williamson County. We will, as a staff, keep up to date about how these applications are progressing through local school districts in anticipation of any potential appeals that we at the commission would receive. That's going to be later in the summer, probably around August. And the last thing I wanted to raise and kind of get feedback on is, this is the first meeting that we have shifted to committee meetings happening the day before the commission meetings, which I feel like from an efficiency and kind of organization standpoint worked really well yesterday. Moving forward is going to be the staff's recommendation that we keep similar committee times that we did yesterday so that you all from a planning perspective can always know generally what time the committee meeting that you're participating in will be taking place. Next week, I think Chase is going to go ahead and send out the meeting times and calendar invitations for our April meeting so that you can go ahead and to be planning for that. But I just appreciate everyone's time and commitment. I know it's a busy 2 days, but I feel like it really focuses our work and really streamlines our work product. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that the commission has regarding those updates.
So this is Tom Griscom. Thank you, Tess. As you can see, Tess and the team have a lot going on. They've really, stepped in and got us moving. Let me say one thing about the new committee structure meeting the day before our board meeting. When we get back to being able to meet in person, I mean, this is set up so that for those of us as commissioners, we have an opportunity on the day before to come together sort of outside of just a meeting schedule to socialize. And the potentially, because I know Tess and I have talked about this, is that we might, depending on where we are, have an opportunity to visit a charter school or have some of the people involved in the charter school in that community, whether it's teachers, the leadership, some of the funding people, things like that, so that we have that chance to sort of learn more from them. So yesterday was the beginning of where I know we're going to get to, and I appreciate Tess, all the work that you all have done, and I hope commissioners, as we move in this direction, will feel like this is a good use of our time and helps us, learn and build relationships. So thank you, because that's sort of a preview to saying that when we do meet on the 9th of April 2021, maybe we're going to be together in person. It would be great if we can. We will monitor that. We'll see what's going on in the state, what the governor's feeling is coming out in terms of boards and commissions meeting again in person. So just mark that date, hold it, and it'd be great if we're all back together, one-on-one with each other and able to really sort of benefit from the new structure that we put in place for meetings and for our regular board meetings. So questions for Tess? Tess, I hear none. So with that, this is Tom Griscom, sorry. So in accordance with Commission Policy 1.200, so Ashley, I want you to see we're following what you laid out. We have reserved time for up to 30 minutes for public comment. Chase, let me ask you, are there any people who have registered and want to have a public comment with us today?
This is Chase Engel. Chairman Griscom, there was no public comment submitted for this meeting.
Thank you, sir. With that, this is Tom Griscom again. Let me thank all commissioners for your attendance today. Tess, let me thank you and the staff for a good presentation, a lot of good updates for us. We'll be looking forward to what goes on, Chase, in the legislative session. And I think we're all ready and willing to help if you all find times where you need some of us to be involved. Either, however we can be helpful, we'll look for you all for that direction. And so looking forward to our sunset hearings, both in the House and Senate, that will be upcoming. And I will promise you all, we will successfully work our way through it this next time. So having said that, Commissioner Smith, I want to wish you the best, because I know you're about to have a procedure, and we'll be pulling for you. And we know that you may have one of your wings a little tied down for a period of time, but but best to you, and we know it will not stop your ability to do the work that you do. So let me open it up for any commissioners who have comments. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Chair Griscom. And I just want to say a personal note of thanks to my fellow commission members as well as our staff. Just your all's outreach when we lost my dad on Christmas Eve due to COVID. If you sent me a message and I haven't gotten to it, I just apologize. It's been a little overwhelming, just everything that's happened. But I also want to say thank you for the donation that you all made to the Special Friends project at Grace Baptist Church to support kids with special needs. My nephew actually is a kid with special needs, and that's where they go to church. So I just appreciate that donation that you all made in memory of my dad. So I just want to say thank you all for everything that you've done for me and my family and the prayers and things. So just thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. You are clearly in our thoughts and prayers. You know that. Other comments for the commission members today?
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out that I've been very closely observing, and my contribution to this meeting is that I think that Wendy Tucker has the most interesting background. Terrence Patterson has the cutest children pictures in his background, and you win the award for the craziest background room. I've been watching it. I've been focused on this the whole meeting, and I just want to make sure we get that very important fact out on the table.
Well, Commissioner Levine, thank you. I will tell you what is behind me for those, since you've clearly been looking at it. Is Darth Vader, but it's a Japanese poster that was put out for the Star Wars movie. So that's what's behind me. So you can see I've got Darth Vader looking over my shoulders as I try to do my business. But thank you for your comments.
I'd move.
Chair, this is Terrence Allen. My Y is behind me. This is James Terrence Patterson III. So I owe it all to him.
Commissioner, that's a great comment. You're so right. So Commissioner Levine, thank you so much for recognizing life's small thing. I guess I may have to go back and look at what's behind me, but no, I'll probably leave Darth Vader there for a while. Thank you all for a nice light finish to a meeting. Is there any other comments? Seeing none, Chase, let me ask you to call a roll. Well, first of all, I need a motion to adjourn. I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
It's Eddie Smith. I'll make it since no one else is wanting to leave.
And this is Commissioner Sisnet. I second.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Now, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chase, let me ask you to call the roll, please.
This is Chase Engel. Commissioner Hanson?
Votes aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Levine?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Patterson?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Richards?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Sisnet?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Tucker?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Griscom?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. And